প্রিয় দর্শক শ্রোতা, মহিলা অঙ্গন অনুষ্ঠান থেকে আপনাদের সবাইকে অনেক সালাম ও শুভেচ্ছা জানিয়ে শুরু করছি আজকের অনুষ্ঠান। আজকের অনুষ্ঠানে আমরা কথা বলছি মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যাওয়ারনেস নিয়ে। অবশ্যই কিছুদিন আগে আমি এইভাবে আরেকটা প্রোগ্রাম করেছিলাম, তবে আজকেরটা একটু ভিন্ন তার চাইতে। আজকের অনুষ্ঠান আসলে আমরা করছি অবভিয়াসলি অ্যাওয়ারনেস রেজ করার উদ্দেশ্য, তবে ক্যাপ ফাউন্ডেশন আজকের অনুষ্ঠানটা লিড করবে। ওনারা একটা প্রজেক্ট করতে যাচ্ছেন বাংলাদেশে, টু রেজ অ্যাওয়ারনেস, মেন্টাল হেলথ অ্যাওয়ারনেস ইন বাংলাদেশ। তো আজকে ওনারা আমাদের গেস্ট। আজকের পুরোটা অনুষ্ঠান ওনাদের সাথে আমরা করব। ওনারা কিভাবে এই অ্যাওয়ারনেসটা রেজ করবেন বাংলাদেশে, এবং সেই বাংলাদেশে এইখান থেকে বাংলাদেশে অ্যাওয়ারনেস রেজ করা, এবং কেন করতে যাচ্ছেন ওনারা বাংলাদেশের মানুষরা কি বাংলাদেশে মেন্টাল হেলথ নিয়ে কথা বলছে না, এইগুলো বিভিন্ন ধরনের প্রশ্ন আমরা করব। তবে প্রশ্ন করার আগে আমি আপনাদেরকে বলে দিচ্ছি, স্ক্রিনের নিচে একটা নাম্বার থাকবে, আপনারা অবশ্যই টেলিফোন করবেন। তবে আপনাদের যে টেলিফোন করে অংশগ্রহণ করবেন, মেক শিওর দ্যাট ইউর কোয়েশ্চেনস আর রেলেভেন্ট টু দ্য টপিক। আজকে আমাদের টপিক মেন্টাল হেলথ, অন্য কোনো কিছু নিয়ে আপনারা প্লিজ প্রশ্ন করবেন না। আর ওনারা যে একটা ইভেন্ট করবেন যে এই প্রজেক্টের জন্য, সেই ইভেন্টের ব্যাপারে যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে তাহলে অবশ্যই করবেন। তো মেন্টাল হেলথ, কেন আমরা এই মানসিক রোগ নিয়ে বারবার কথা বলি? মানসিক রোগ নিয়ে আমরা এই জন্য কথা বলি যে রিসার্চ অনুযায়ী দেখা যায় যে এই গ্রেট ব্রিটেনে প্রত্যেক 4 জনের মধ্যে একজন মানুষ সাফার করে মেন্টাল হেলথ, মানে মানসিক রোগ যারা সাফার করে থাকে। মানসিক রোগ বলতে এমন না যে একদম জনুন পাগল, মানসিক রোগ বিভিন্ন ধরনের আছে। এই প্রসঙ্গ নিয়ে আলোচনা অবশ্যই করবেন আমার যে গেস্ট যারা আছেন ওনারা। আমি আর বেশি না বলে আপনাদেরকে পরিচয় করে দিচ্ছি আমার গেস্টদের সাথে। প্রথমে যার সাথে আপনাদেরকে পরিচয় করে দিব, একটা নতুন মুখ সম্পূর্ণভাবে, উনি হচ্ছেন ডক্টর রিচার্ড কাসল। হ্যালো ডক্টর কাসল, হাউ আর ইউ?
I'm very well.
Thank you for coming to the studio today.
Pleasure.
I've just introduced you very briefly to my audience. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I'm a psychologist by background, and I first got involved with mental health in Bangladesh through the Acid Survivors Foundation, which is based in Dhaka, and I got involved in a project to improve the psychosocial rehabilitation of the victims of acid violence. And following on from that, and talking to the chief executive, a lady called Mohila, it became evident that there were not the normal range of mental health facilities in Bangladesh as there would be, for instance, in the United Kingdom. And since then, Mohila has gone on to form the Innovation for Wellbeing Foundation, which is the overall umbrella group for advocating for better mental health facilities.
You'll have to tell me
Bangladesh.
more about this when I come back to you. So let me introduce my other two guests as well. So দর্শক শ্রোতা, তারপরে আপনাদের সাথে যাকে পরিচয় করে দিচ্ছি, উনি হচ্ছেন আব্দুল নূর। আসসালামু আলাইকুম আব্দুল নূর।
সালাম।
How are you?
আলহামদুলিল্লাহ।
আব্দুল নূর, আপনার নিজের সম্বন্ধে একটু বলেন এবং আপনি ক্যাপ ফাউন্ডেশন সম্বন্ধে একটু বলেন।
Okay, I'm part of CAP Foundation. I'm the founder of CAP Foundation, and we work particularly in Bangladesh, providing many projects throughout the country, providing shelter, sanitation, fresh water, medical
CAP
assistance.
Foundation is a charity organization.
That's right.
হ্যাঁ, it's a charity organization that আপনাদের লোগোতে লেখা যেটা দেখলাম যে empowering and inspiring people in need. So এই সম্বন্ধে একটু বলে তারপরে আমাদের আজকের যে প্রজেক্ট নিয়ে আলোচনা করব সেটা পড়ে যাচ্ছি।
Okay. Absolutely right. Empowering and inspiring the people in need. We focus on communities, female and male as well. We focus to empower our women in Bangladesh through our sewing projects, as well as male to provide a rickshaw, giving them a project to sustain and maintain their family livelihood. We just recently about to launch our project mental health initiative. We have a center in Bangladesh.
I'm going to ask Poli Islam a bit more about the project, if you don't mind. I'm going to move on. প্রিয় দর্শক শ্রোতা, তারপরে যাকে সাথে আপনাকে পরিচয় করে দিচ্ছি, উনি আপনারা আগেও দেখেছেন এই অনুষ্ঠানে। উনি আর কেউ নয়, মিসেস পলি ইসলাম। আসসালামু আলাইকুম পলি ইসলাম, কেমন আছেন? ভালো আছেন?
হ্যাঁ, ভালো আছি।
আজকে হ্যাঁ আছি ভালো। আজকে তো নতুন পরিচয়, নতুন টাইটেল, হেড অফ উইমেন্স গ্রুপ অ্যান্ড অ্যাম্বাসেডর ফর ক্যাপ ফাউন্ডেশন। What does that mean? Tell me.
It means that I've started since I've known Abdul Noor. He's the founder of CAP Foundation. He's invited me to come on board and start the women group, because initially they only had the brothers the male side, and there wasn't any women involved. So he's kind of invited me to start the women group, and from the women group, we've decided to open up the mental health project, what we're going to talk about today.
So you're the ambassador for CAP Foundation, and you're also leading the women's project in Bangladesh. So why have you chosen to set up a project in Bangladesh and not here, for example?
It is mainly because in England we have, even though not, how can I put it? We have lots of services for mental health in England, but in Bangladesh it's very, very uncommon. It's rare to have something to do with mental health. I mean, we do have few, I think we have, Richard, we have 2 hospitals in Bangladesh for 16 million people in Bangladesh. So it is a much needed
16 million people suffering from mental illness?
No.
Thank God.
We're nearly there anyway.
Well, actually, you're not far off there, because if you take the model that 1 in 4 people at any one time is suffering from poor mental health, and there are, I think, about 160 million people in Bangladesh.
It is nearly there, yeah.
Actually, the figure is pretty high.
Near about. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about the 2 hospitals in a minute. So you have, because you felt there was a gap, is that right?
There is a big gap in Bangladesh. Because, as I said to you before, that we do have some services in the UK, and we are fortunate to have these services, but in Bangladesh it's very rare to anything for mental health projects. So we thought there's a big gap and that needs to be filled.
Okay, so I'm going to come to both of you in a minute about the project, and I want to ask a little bit more, but I'm going to go to Dr. Richard Castle to set the ground for my viewers in terms of mental illness and what is mental health. I do understand that you are a psychologist and not a psychiatrist, but I'm sure you will be able to answer all the medical aspects of the question, of mental illness. So my first question to you is, what is actually mental health and mental illness?
Okay. Mental illness is a specific clinical diagnosis of something that is wrong, in the same way as it would be for physical health. So with physical health, you might have cancer, you might have a pulled muscle, you might have a broken arm. In mental health terms, you might have or develop depression, psychosis, where you're having delusions or hallucinations of things that aren't real. You might be feeling like ending your own life, or you might have schizophrenia, all of which are mental illnesses. But over and above that, in some ways, you can have poor mental health. And if you basically means you're feeling miserable the whole time, you don't function properly. You might not have a proper diagnosis, but you're not functioning in the work environment, in your home environment, as you would wish to do. So that's a distinction between mental illness,
and mental
which is
health.
straightforward,
Yes.
and mental health,
Yes,
which
so
is
because
actually
there
what
is
we're looking for.
there is a difficulty in this, isn't there? Because people they don't even want to use the word mental health.
Exactly.
And mental health is a perfectly fine word. There's no, I don't think there is any negative connotation with the word mental health. It's just a parallel to physical health. But it's the mental illness that once you have a disorder and you have been diagnosed, then that's where the concern, if you like, starts. But tell me, how many different types of mental illnesses can there be?
That's a very good question. I'd put them in broad clusters, which basically are the 5 I've mentioned to you. So you've got anxiety disorders, you've got depression, you've got schizophrenia, you've got obsessive compulsive disorder, which contains a multitude of other things, such as dependence on alcohol, dependence on drugs. Big one in this country, and I don't see why Bangladesh should be any different, is eating disorders, anorexia nervosa and bulimia. And you've got schizophrenia, which is periods of what you might term in simple terms complete madness, just not functioning at all. And psychosis, which is, again, as I mentioned, is hallucinations and delusions. And there's a perception that you can't recover from these illnesses. Actually, as with physical illnesses, 90% of mental health conditions are curable, or people can live quite happily with the aid of therapy or medication in exactly the same way as a physical illness.
So bipolar, where does that fit into?
Bipolar would fit into the personality disorders, which is another sort of set of symptoms, but isn't in itself a mental illness.
Right. So out of the 5 categories that you have described, which one is much easier to diagnose and notice the symptoms, and which would be the most difficult to notice?
Okay, psychosis without question is the easiest in terms of diagnosis.
How?
Because if someone experiences a delusion, i.e. they can see or hear something that clearly isn't happening, or a delusion, which is the thought process, the thinking process that something is happening when it clearly isn't. One of the best examples I've come across of that is an individual who was quite sure in their own mind that Adolf Hitler was coming back. And to cut the story short, he spent time not only buying Nazi memorabilia, but set up a camp on the North Downs down in Surrey, and was quite convinced that he would be there when Adolf Hitler came to land. Clearly a delusion. It was not going to happen in any shape or form.
So delusion fits under which category?
Delusion is psychosis.
Psychosis.
And that is the easiest because it's really tangible symptoms if somebody is hearing a voice that isn't actually there. The hardest is actually the most common one, I would say, which is depression, because it's very easy to put on an act and smile your way through a working day, for instance. But actually, if you're in a period of prolonged low mood, which can lead to a clinical diagnosis of depression, that can be very, very hard to get to.
And we will need to talk about the easiest category, which is depression. And most people, I think, suffer depression at some point in their lives.
Yep.
And there is postnatal depression and a whole range
Absolutely.
of other depressive episodes that people can suffer from. And it is treatable, I take it?
Yes, absolutely.
So we can talk about
Absolutely.
the different forms of treatment. So we've just, Poliapa, we've just heard, depression is one of the most common ones, and the one that is most perhaps difficult to diagnose or even notice, because a person can actually cover it up quite well. In terms of the project that you are thinking, and together with Abdul Noor, you are thinking of setting up. So tell me, whoever wants to answer this question, what is the aim of your project?
Do you want to say? Aim of the project is to, আমি বাংলায় একটু
Please,
বলি।
বাংলা বলেন।
আমাদের কমিউনিটিতে যে মেন্টাল ইলনেস বলে কোনো কিছু কনসেপ্টটা নাই, এইটাই আমাদের আমরা বোঝানোর জন্য আমাদের এই অ্যাওয়ারনেস ক্যাম্পেইনটা আমরা স্টার্ট করেছি। আমরা চাচ্ছি যে একটা অ্যাওয়ারনেস সেন্টার করব বাংলাদেশে, যেখানে সবাই আসবে, বুঝবে যে কীভাবে মেন্টালি ইল পেশেন্টদেরকে লুক আফটার করতে হয়, একটা ট্রিটমেন্ট যে দরকার, এই ট্রিটমেন্টটা কীভাবে নিতে হবে, কীভাবে ট্রিটমেন্ট নেওয়ার পরে যে আফটার কেয়ার ফ্যাসিলিটিটা যে দিতে হয় ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার্সরা, এটা আমাদের সেন্টারে আসলে বুঝবে, জানবে কীভাবে এগুলো এগোতে পারবে এগুলো জিনিস নিয়ে।
So we're hoping to set up the mental health provision in Bangladesh, where we'll have in-house and outreach workers going out to community-based and delivering workshops outside to make awareness, first of all, about the mental health issues, and also for the next of kin of the actual patient, we will have care workers going to the village and or bringing them to the in-house center to give the training.
সেন্টার যেটা আপনারা, আমি একটা সিলেটি মাধ্যমে আমার
Please.
দর্শক শ্রোতারা তখন বুঝতে পারবা, আর দ্য হোল আইডিয়া আপনারা আজকে এই প্রোগ্রাম আওয়ার ইজ টু রিচ আউট টু দ্য কমিউনিটি।
Absolutely.
তো আপনারা যে সেন্টার যেটা করবা, এটা কোন জায়গাতে করবা বাংলাদেশে?
এটা ঠিক অপোজিট আমাদের এই উসমানী মেডিকেল সেন্টার, মেডিকেল হসপিটাল,
সিলেট কাজল হাওর।
দ্যাটস রাইট, কাজল হাওর।
এই জায়গাটা চুজ করার পিছনে কারণ কিটা?
এইটা চয়েস করার পিছনে কারণ হচ্ছে যে এইটা অলরেডি একটি বিজি পজিশন, অ্যান্ড আমাদের যে সেন্টারটা, এইটার location will be very attractive, and we will able to increase our patient and awareness and provide the awareness to the people as well. We already have a link with the Usmani Medical through Minar Rahman in Bangladesh, We also have on board Dhaka University and also Bristol University, which will devise a research plan, which will then become the ultimate research report for other countries as well from Bangladesh.
Okay, so the research report that's going to be undertaken by Bristol University and Dhaka University,
That's right.
that is to inform the practice or inform the needs of the community there, or what is it?
It's kind of both. Initially,
Okay.
obviously, the practice.
So the research will take place in Bangladesh
In
on the
Bangladesh.
people where, okay,
That's
fine.
right.
So
And obviously that'll become the primary report for the outside world from Bangladesh itself. And yes, absolutely need and the practical side as well, and the facts. And
আচ্ছা, তাহলে তো রিসার্চ হইব, রিসার্চ কতদিন টাইম এক্সপেক্ট করা রিসার্চ কমপ্লিট হওয়ার?
Richard
How
would
long
be
are you
able to-
expecting the
that's,
research
Richard will
to
be
be
taking part on
concluded,
that.
and how long will it take?
I don't know the precise answer, but if it's helpful, the last bit of research that was done was by Professor Kamal Chowdhury at the University of Dhaka back in 2012, and he and his team did a bit of research which indicated that 16% of the population of Bangladesh were suffering from some form of mental illness. That took him and his team for about 18 months. So I'm not privy to the exact details of the new project, but you're looking at about a year, 18 months. And this is important, actually, because otherwise you could have a facility that didn't actually meet the needs of the people.
Absolutely.
And it's all very well setting up something, but it's got to be able to cope with the people that come through the doors.
So the research is very important in order to inform what the requirements will be and how to plan the project more for the needs of the community rather than what you might think from here the need might be.
For the future, yes, but I think the point that's already really come across is the research that's already been done has highlighted anxiety and depression as being prevalent amongst 16 to 20% of the population, and the way that the first centre is going to be set up will be primarily to be able to provide counselling support to that part of the population. I think you've got to start there before you put a lot of resources into the treatment required for instance, psychosis.
থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। প্রিয় দর্শক শ্রোতা, আমরা এখন একটা ছোট্ট বিরতিতে যাব, বিরতির পরে ফিরে এসে আবার আমরা কন্টিনিউ করব আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠান। আজকের অনুষ্ঠানে আমাদের গেস্ট যারা ওনারা এসেছেন ক্যাপ ফাউন্ডেশন থেকে। আমাদের সঙ্গেই থাকবেন, দেখতেই থাকবেন, অংশগ্রহণ অবশ্যই করবেন। আসসালামু আলাইকুম।